Welcome back to Driving and Dragons. I'm Daniel, and I've been researching and studying the design of tabletop role-playing games for years. In recent years, I've been on streams and audiences and in online discussions with numerous TTRPG designers of various levels of success. Then the question dawned on me. Outside of the typical professional discipline and baseline talent and creativity traits, what were the key things that set successful designers, those who have successfully completed, published, and distributed a complete product, from those who have a mountain of unfinished ideas and failed, non-viable, half-baked systems? What are the keys to successful design? So I went and binged interviews, took notes, and directly asked several accomplished designers. The result is the 7 keys to effective TTRPG design. Today we explore the third key. First, think in settings, then in systems. While you're here, hit the YouTube buttons, the like, the share, the subscribe, the hype, all that jazz. If you hate me, make sure you hammer it home by hitting dislike twice. That'll show me. If you are looking for your next great read, check out Corvid Codex, a volume of 7 pulp fiction stories written by players, writers, and designers in the TTRPG space. And be on the lookout for Volume 2, which is behind schedule, but I have committed to at least 4 volumes for you to enjoy. Links in the description below. If you are a channel member, you will have this video early. If you become a member, you will get the next one early. Lastly, remember every dime this channel makes from supers, members, Patreon, ad revenue, etc. goes towards the goal of giving cars to people right here on the channel. With that done, let's talk design. Good game masters can make any genre work in any system. They can run a decent horror game in D&D, and they can turn Call of Cthulhu into a run-and-gun war game. However, a great game master understands that making a system work for a genre will never measure up to simply running that genre in a game that was designed for it in the first place. There's a very good reason for that. The major similarity you will find in all 7 of the keys to a successful TTRPG design is that none of them are rigidly defined. Every one is somewhat nebulous and leaves a lot of room for instinctive feeling of the subject. That instinctive feel driving design choices is at the very heart of this particular key to success. Longtime subscribers of this channel have heard me say at least 1,000 times that realistic combat mechanics and combat mechanics that feel real are radically different animals. This is because the reality of combat is a long string of variables and equations, while the feeling of combat is raw and chaotic. In the context of a game, it is far more important that the feeling is emulated than the reality is emulated. The same is true for the game as a whole. The game mechanics have to blend in and become almost invisible amid the decisions of the players. Rolling the dice and looking for that bonus or ability needs to read as a natural part of the action. The way this is accomplished is by putting the setting first. I feel a definition is needed here. In regards to this key, the term setting does not simply mean the world in which the game takes place, be it a fictional universe or a world in, our world in some kind of alternate reality. Setting refers to both the genre and the style of the game which you are trying to create, expressed through the vehicle of the fictional reality of the game. And notice I said fictional reality and not fictional world. Unless it's done to unless you just explicitly want your TTRPG to strictly adhere to the lore and history of a specific game world, your setting applies evenly regardless of who wrote the lore or the world the player characters inhabit. The rules are the rules regardless of whether you're in Greyhawk or Forgotten Realms, for instance. Thus, the setting of D&D is high fantasy adventure in a medieval age. The setting of Call of Cthulhu is Eldritch horror investigation in 20th century Earth. Pulp Cthulhu has noir Lovecraftian thriller in an early 20th century America as its setting. Notice how Pulp Cthulhu and Call of Cthulhu have different settings, and then go look at how the rules and mechanics have changed to fit those settings. A common mistake that I've seen takes the form of, I thought up this cool mechanic and I wanted to build a game around it. Ultimately, this leads to failure far more often than success because the mechanic is simply a system for generating results on a bell curve. Its only goal is to generate random results in a different way with no regard to how that way fits into play at the table. However, when a man reads Lovecraft and decides, I want to develop a game based on this, the results speak for themselves. Every decision was viewed through the lens of generating that hopelessly small character being crushed under the ageless, formless, immeasurably vast pressure of entities so far beyond their understanding that reading their names drives the character insane. Injuries are near permanent and are easily fatal. Players are given softened failures only to give them the choice of pushing their role and risking devastating results. I already failed. It's bad. But do I risk it again? Is it worth it? Can I survive the failure if I bet it all on black and roll again? The difficulty of tasks is not controlled by a game master. Setting some kind of bar for the player to clear, the difficulty is right there on their character sheet. I have a 58% chance of success on jumping over that fence. The monster's right behind me. 58%. Is that enough to risk jumping the fence? Or should I jump in the car where I have a 78% drive auto? But what if there's no gas and no keys? These mechanics and the way they are laid out naturally build tension and put a mental load on the player, giving them the sweaty palmed anxiety of the character in the Lovecraft story. On the other side of the spectrum, if you look at AD&D, players are encouraged to think tactically. Is my weapon effective against that kind of armor? Do we have enough torches to go deeper into the dungeon? How far can I push it to get the bigger and brighter treasure and the greater glory? Monsters are deadly and far more powerful than player characters, but they're defeatable. And the race to see whose hit points run out fastest builds the excitement of that victory. Hard fought and well won. Every adventure leads to more power, more harrowing challenges, and greater rewards. When your D&D character dives out of the cave entrance, treasure sack in hand, just as the wizard collapses the entrance on the ogres that are coming out behind you, you feel just like Conan, looking back at the ruins of an ancient temple with a fist-sized gem in his hand. All of this to say that if you want your game to shine, every mechanic and every decision should start and end with the question, does this feel like my setting? No matter how cool your idea is, be it a dice rolling mechanic, an ability, a class, a race, or a bonus penalty mechanic, if it doesn't feel like the setting you are going for, it gets cut or reworked until it does. Because nothing will ruin a great game quite like seeing the Wizard of Oz peeking out from behind the curtain in the form of a clunky mechanic, killing the feeling that you're going for. I'll finish with this hypothetical. If you are designing a Mafia game, it's all about hits and gangland assassinations and running the streets for booze and gambling and girls. And when combat happens, I want you to ask yourself, which of these two scenarios makes sense? Scenario 1. Characters have hit points that increase every level, giving a level 2 mobster around 18 hit points. A silenced .22 pistol that does 1d4 damage and gets a ×2 bonus for a sneak attack. You die at 0. And a Tommy gun does 1d6 and gets 5 attacks in a round. Or here's scenario 2. Characters never get hit points. They start with 5 HP. It's all they ever get. After 2 hit points lost, you're injured, taking minuses. After 4, you're essentially helpless, crawling and bleeding and taking partial actions. Dead at 0. The 22 still does the 1d4 times 2 for that sneak attack, but we're going to go ahead and say that the Tommy gun now has a -2 to every shot that's cumulative. The choice of which of these to choose for your Mafia game is pretty easy. You would pick option 2. In option 1, if I sneak in and assassinate the capo, there's basically 0 chance that I can kill him with my Silence 22. Heck, even my Tommy gun needs the equivalent of 3 hits with max damage. Meanwhile, in option 2, even if I don't kill him outright with my 22, there's a very good chance that he's now crawling away from me, bleeding out as I tell him it's only business before I put the last round in him. If I pull that Tommy gun out in a drive-by, his survival hinges on that penalty to hit. And either way, he is running for the hills the second that gun is visible. Neither of these mechanics are bad. But one of them leads to a game that people talk about how cool that injury mechanic works and how it really feels like that deadly underworld where you can get snuffed out at any time. So when you design your game, remember, select the right system for your setting, or if you're developing or altering an existing system for your own, always put the setting first. That's it for me on this, guys. Join me on Thursday at 6 p.m. for Driving the Conversation as old school designer and purveyor of VengerCon, Venger Satanis, joins me to talk about how your system must serve your setting. And I'll see you guys then.